Hi, my name is Martha. Welcome back to my booktube channel, and I'm gonna be doing my January wrap up. This month I did like a total of like 8 books. The first book I read was Crash Into You by Ronnie Lauren, and it was a BDSM erotic romance novel about this woman who's it was a second chance romance about these two characters who are involved in the BDSM life, and the main female character is she's looking for her sister who has gone missing and who has been she's gone missing and she's looking for her, and the male character is like her old lover who's kind of come back into her life because of some mistake that he made years back. So it's also kind of enemies to lovers because he's kind of angry because he thinks she cheated on him, and she's angry at him because he supposedly defended the person who killed her mother. So that's kind of the overarching plot, but in between there's them. It's like a interspersed with them being in the like in basically scenes from BDSM, like just that arc, and a lot of BDSM intersect intercepted interspersed, that's the word. So yeah, I it was an average kind of BDSM story. I gave it a 2 out of 5 because I don't know, it's one of those books I just picked up because it was exam season and I was procrastinating, and those the way you can watch Netflix and you have an exam but you are watching it religiously, but when you don't have an exam you don't want to think about the the Netflix show. So that's when you put the procrastination to use. Anyway, I didn't really, it wasn't a great in the I mean, it's not, I mean, it's BDSM. Like most of them aren't written that well. There's only like one or two writers really doing anything much in the genre. Yeah. But it was accurate, I guess. The next book was Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. And Bell Hooks just basically outlines intersectionality before it was called Intersectionality by Kimberly Crenshaw. So I won't talk much about this right now. So I will talk about it in my review for my Woman is Lit Wednesday series. So I will hopefully, if I manage to get this video up today, which is on Tuesday, I will get up the review for Ain't I a Woman on tomorrow. Okay, the next book I read was Ink and Arrows by Shruti Viswanathan. This was a fantasy romance. This is about a girl who is from the Suveri tribe. So they're kind of a hated tribe because they possess magic, they practice magic, and they also draw tattoos, and their culture is kind of hated. And she wants revenge for her father's death. An Anisian general kind of frees her from prison and like is interested in her culture. So says, if I let you go, I mean, teach me your culture and stuff. And she reluctantly does, and this kind of blossoms into a romance. But this book was kind of one of those that I felt had a lot of potential because you could see that there was beauty in the writing. Like there were one or two moments where you could tell like there's so much that could come out of this book and could have very easily competed with other fantasy romance YAs in the market like Akotar and Sarah J Maas books, Lee Bardugo. Okay, Lee Bardugo is not I mean, she's not really fantasy rumors, but I feel like this book could have competed at that level. But the potential in it was just like not there. The the romance was very, very flat. even though it was a short book, number one. Number two, the romance is over 2 years, so you're giving us a 2 year span in a very condensed way. The time jumps were not really making sense, and the two male characters, I didn't care, especially for the male character. He was supposed to be this kind of conflicted, morally gray character who kills her people, but doesn't understand, like, is also in love with her. So does it kind of can't justify it, but uh, it was very flat, and I didn't care about him. His father is meant to be the villain of the story, but he's like this kind of cartoon in the shadows sort of character, and he didn't impact the story in any marginal way. And the main problem I had was the two were supposed to be in a forbidden romance because her tribe is hated. There were no consequences for the romance because every time they met, I thought that there would be, some reprimand, that they would get some kind of, she would go into prison again, or he would lose his throne. And the resolution was like all the plot points were all resolved in one page in the epilogue, which I find very unacceptable.
Unacceptable condition! Unacceptable!
The next book is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge. Everyone was talking about this book when it came out, but I'm not kind of a nonfiction person, so I didn't pick it. But I finally did, and I liked it. It kind of it's kind of like a history lesson for Black people anyway, from you know kind of explaining the structural racism in the United Kingdom. And a lot of history, a lot of times when we talk about history, it's always about, like, the dominant history that we hear about is always American history when it comes to Black history anyway. So I appreciated this kind of treatise of Black kind of history and structural racism in the UK. This is also one of them that will go into Womanist Lit Wednesdays, and I will talk more in depth about the book. So yeah, I loved it. And yeah, I also yeah, so I gave it like a 4 stars, because yeah, it was really useful for me to know about how race in this country operates. The next book is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is a TED talk. I think she kind of transcribed her TED talk into her book. That's the short clip that is in Beyonce's Flawless, which was part of a longer speech that she gave at TED Talk. And I thought she would build upon it, but it seems she did not. I didn't really enjoy this book. I thought that she would build upon it. I was expecting something similar to Ain't I a Woman. I thought it was going to be like a this African feminist manifesto. Sadly, it was not. Hmm. This is also another book I'm going to review for my Womanist Lit Wednesdays, so just check that out when it comes out. The next book is A Violet Fire by Kelsey Quick. This book was the biggest waste of my time and money that I have ever had. I spent too much money on this book to be what it was. I could not believe, as in, I got this book because I thought I was looking for a vampire. Like, I was trying to get my vampire fix. And I also watched Castlevania, and I liked the vampire politics in that book. And I just thought I should look for a book that kind of had the same thing. So I go hunting up and down, and what do I find? A Violet Fire. And what did I find next? Disappointment. This book was I I'm telling you, I could tell that this book was bad vibes. When it arrived here and I saw it and I looked inside, and first I saw it was short, red flag. Next, I was seeing like large print. I was okay. Another red flag. So I said, if I paid this much for this book, it better change my life. Narrator, it did not. This was the biggest flop ever. Nah, I'm not gonna say that. This was just the biggest time waster ever. The main girl is called Waverly, and she is a blood slave. And first of all, I thought the premise was really good because I was like, a blood slave? That's different. Okay. I'm waiting for some cruelty. I'm waiting for some morally great characters. I'm waiting for some blood to be shed. I'm waiting for some heads to be chopped off. But did I get that? No. Instead, I got some redhead girl and some sickly kind of prince, them pale haired, blue, gray, gray eyes. And let me tell you, when I saw orbs in this book, I said, I'ma head out. Because you could just tell the fan fiction jumped out. And I'm not knocking on fan fiction, but I will not spend a certain amount of money on fan fiction. And I should have known that when I read the acknowledgements. Played myself. This, as in, the Waverly was the main character's name, and she would flip flop. Like, on one hand, she hated the main guy, and on the other hand, she loved him. And he would do disgusting things to her. Not disgusting things, but like very things that should have made her hate him, but she starts getting confused about him. And she was just a very inconsistent character, and that really annoyed me. The yeah, and also the descriptions of the other of characters was very confusing, and I thought that we had fixed this. White writers, come closer, listen to me. If you're going to describe a character, please stop saying tan skin when you mean white. Stop saying dark skin when you mean white. I don't know what dark skin means. I don't know what tan skin means, please. Please, I don't know what that means. I need to hear brown. I need to hear color descriptions that actually make sense. I am so sick of tall, dark, and handsome when it's just a literary device for white. I can't stand that anymore, and we need to do better. You can't be saying a character has dark skin and then calling that character exotic at the same time. That is very outdated, and I'm just annoyed with that. It really takes me out of the book, and I'm just like, what the fuck did you say? As in, what? So the male character was also a very no was the main annoying part of this book, because the main character is a vampire, which okay, cool. So the vampire is supposed to be in this forbidden romance with with Waverly. He's called Kane. So the thing is, I don't mind if Kane is this old ass vampire who's 100 years old and the main character is 18. I don't care. As long as you met her at 18, cool. You do you, have your little 70 to 90 age gap, do you. You're maybe probably still a teenager in the brain. I'll give you that concession. But what I won't forgive is you picked up this girl when she was 8 years old from her family, plucked her out of there when her family died, put her in a blood slave concentration camp stroke breeding ground, okay? And the blood slaves, mind you, are producing blood for their future benefactors, which is like, for example, the main character is one of the like a leader of this faction, and there are like 5 of them, so she's chosen for one of them. So you picked up this small girl, took her to your kingdom so she can give you blood, and you fell in love with her. You have known this girl from when she was a child. Okay, why is this justified in the book? Why did this girl not think twice? Why did this girl think that now I should fall in love with this man? Because I've always been in love with him since I was fucking 8. You know what? I could have tolerated that if you had explained to me in the same breath why that was very disgusting. And I was just uh, like, if you're giving me vampire politics, I will stand cruelty. I will stand any weird kind of reprehensible things, as long as you're showing me that that is reprehensible. But if you're presenting me into in a way that I should now swoon and start standing and start shipping, like, get the fuck away from me. I don't want to read that in my books anymore. This is not 2012. We are not doing Twilight anymore. We are trying to, grow up in our way of reading. I am just not here for it anymore. On top of that, the romance was very flat. It was very up and down. And even the twist at the end still didn't make sense. And it was like shoved in. And it's unfortunate because that was the most interesting part of the story, which was explained in a most terrible way. And it was so shoved in there. And now we're supposed to like hold our breaths for the next installment. Girl, I am not gonna read anything more from this series. I am so sorry, but uh, I was I when I started this channel, I promised myself I wouldn't do negative reviews, but this was really annoying. The last book I read in January was The Poet X on a Lighter Note by Elizabeth Acevedo. I am so glad I picked this book up. I actually got it in the library. I'm so glad I picked it up, and I'm gonna buy it because it was amazing. It elicited the same feelings that I got from Daughters of Henry, and I feel like I've understood what I want from books now. It's like the only way that I can love a book right now is if I get that representation. Like, the representation just takes it up to the next level. And it's not just about, dark skin. It's not just about having the black character in there. Representation is all its forms. It's kind of fullness of a person, in the way a person moves, a person lives, a person experiences life. And this was the way this was kind of a book that wrote my life down. The main character is Xiomara. She is an Afro Latina protagonist. So she is this as teenager trying to grow up, trying to find her way, trying to find her voice. And I was kind of worried about the no plot, kind of just a character study type thing, but it wasn't really a big issue. So she's just trying to find her way. She likes a boy, and she's worried that she has insecurities. She's worried about she's just like this silent person who's like ready to say something. Like, she's just waiting to say something, and she's so bottled up, and everything is inside. And it's like, there's also this thing with her mother is also in there, and she's just like, their relationship is so, it's like this water that's trying to, it's almost boiling over, and you can read that the tension is there throughout the book. This book was just a gift. It was beautiful, it was powerful. There were small moments and big moments that affected me the same way. Yeah, I was moved. I can sum this up by I was so moved. So yeah, that's now the conclusion of my January wrap up. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.